Once again, London and Brussels have postponed the decision on Brexit. The British are slowly realizing what will happen to them with a divorce from the EU. The Brussels free future will not be as pleasant as dreamed of. A no deal gets expensive. The negotiating teams may still not have found a solution for Brexit. Daniel Kawczynski, on the other hand, knows exactly what to do. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson must give an absolute guarantee that he will immediately send the British Navy into action to drive illegal French fishermen out of our waters, urges the British Tories MP in the event that both sides fall apart without one separate agreement. Barely 2 weeks before the end of the transition period, it's still not clear whether Great Britain and the European Union will part amicably on January 1st, or whether after 47 years of marriage they cannot find an agreement on the future. On Sunday afternoon, EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen and Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced that both sides wanted to go one step further despite being exhausted after almost a year of negotiations. Despite the many missed deadlines, it's responsible to go one more mile, said von der Leyen. A deadline was not given. Johnson warned that some key issues were still very far apart. You have to be prepared for failure, the no deal, which, along with countless other consequences, would mean that European fishermen are no longer allowed to enter British waters. In this case, the Royal Navy has already put 4 80-meter-long armed patrol boats in readiness to repel potential intruders. Just as MP Kawczynski and other Brexit hardliners in Johnson's Conservative Party would like. The British have a lot of experience in sea battles for their fish, most recently in the 1970s in the Cod War with Iceland. However, it's questionable whether consumers on land enjoy excess herring, mackerel and salmon, which they then have to eat by themselves every day. Especially since, according to the latest surveys, half of the population thinks that leaving the EU is probably the wrong decision. Just before things get serious at the beginning of the year, the nation is slowly realizing that the journey to a Brussels-free future is not going to be as pleasant as has been dreamed of. Just one of many examples, the food supply. Around 30% of everything eaten or drunk in the UK comes from the EU. The former gastronomic desert called England has developed into a gourmet paradise in decent decades thanks to its membership in the domestic market. Even in the smallest supermarket in the farthest corner of Derbyshire, French Camembert and Spanish Rioja can be found today. In the future, the British can only be sure that they will definitely be able to put a fried egg on toast and a glass of milk on the table, summarizes the mass newspaper The Daily Mail with a view to the domestic agricultural sector. Nobody has to worry about the supply of mutton, potatoes, Scottish whiskey and of course breaded hake for fish and chips. Not to forget the Cheddar cheese, which the dairy industry is promising a new golden era. Everything else, be it the avocados that are not missing of any London bistro menu, or the much-loved champagne, which no one except the French drink as much as the British. In the case of a no deal, almost everything becomes more expensive, sometimes much more expensive. Instead of importing duty-free from the EU, consumers then pay tariffs that are prescribed by the World Trade Organization. About 55% is added to Roquefort cheese. The supermarket chain Tesco warned this week that consumers would have to expect an average price increase of up to 5% and even more for certain products. Boris Johnson, however, is not afraid of such warnings. When visiting a battery factory in Northumberland last Friday, the Conservative promised, beaming with joy, that even after no deal the situation will be wonderful because we can then do exactly what we want. The kingdom will grow mightily no matter what. On what empirical evidence this claim is based, only the Prime Minister can say. The data suggest that the British economy would be significantly affected, said Ireland's Foreign Minister Simon Coveney in an interview with the German Welt am Sonntag. His country is closely linked to the kingdom geographically, historically and economically, and is on the verge of becoming the biggest collateral damage caused by Brexit. Britain is a strong country, it will get through, but it will be burdened without need. Quite apart from the political tensions that arise as a result and the expected mutual recrimination, warns Coveney. The latter is the reason why the EU side has committed itself to the principle of last to turn off the light from the beginning of the negotiations. But the team around Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier is exhausted, and so is their mandate. Johnson's plan to get concessions at the highest political level at this point does not even seem to be working. Both Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron reject requests from Downing Street for a personal phone call with the Prime Minister. Instead, it is now up to Ursula von der Leyen to clear the last big block on the agenda of the German EU Council presidency. What the head of the Commission does with her own sack. When she received Johnson on Wednesday in Berlaymont in Brussels, she first shooed him in front of the waiting photographers, warned him to keep his distance, and allowed the Prime Minister to take off his mask for exactly 12 seconds. You are in strict control here, Ursula, and for good reason. Johnson tried to joke before he panted after the Germans hurrying away. At home on the island, millions of Brits are worried whether the Premier will now put a no-deal chaos under the Christmas tree for them. Even Brexit advocates do not deny that at least the first few months of the new year will be rough. Up to 7,000 trucks could jam in front of Dover in Kent in the south of England because the French in Calais will now have to check every freight. Instead of the Garden of England, the county was given the new title Toilet of England by the British media as a precaution when thousands of drivers then get stuck in front of the bottlenecks on the White Rock in a few weeks. Their cargo will possibly wait for clearance not only because of the hardly tested IT system, but also because hundreds of veterinarians are missing due to the necessary documents to the animal transports. In order to remedy this shortage, there's an urgent need to recruit workers from the EU. But because freedom of movement ends on January 1st and there's a strict point system for foreign workers, hardly any Europeans are coming. And who likes to be greeted by patrol boats on the English Channel? And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel and visit my other channels. I'll see you in my next video. Viel Spaß!